for his team.
Well, we almost have both teams coming in. I cannot tell which team A or B is Hazard or Rice. Hopefully again soon we get this draft rolling and on to game one.
Team B is going to be Hazard. I recognize the names and I cast another game for Hazard. So that must be Hazard if that's who's playing. So we have Neglect, Luxion, and Abscond on Team Hazard, and Android Prospe. I think I said that right. And Wolfgang for, you said their name was Rice?
Yes.
Okay. I apologize to all of our listeners for my ignorance of the team names. But I literally had about 2 minutes to prepare for this, so.
One off-meta pick I'd like to see, not rather off-meta, but kind of forgotten hero, Baron. He's not as tragic as he once was, but he still packs a punch. Onto the draft, like I said last game, expecting the typical captain ban, probably Catherine into Grace or Grace into Catherine.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we see, and like I said, I'm not the hugest fan of these quote-unquote meta bans, because with single ban, you don't have that opportunity to take away a power pick with your first ban and then ban a counter pick with your second ban like you see in the VG8. And I think too many teams come into the draft unprepared with what they want to do, and they just become kind of reactionary to what the other team does. Where I think is if the team comes in with a plan of what they want to do, they can think of who counters them the best and take that away. While I do acknowledge that both Grace and Catherine are very strong in the captain positions, I don't necessarily know that they're enough to completely swing the game if you have a good draft against them.
In terms of roaming in this update, I believe Finn is the greatest out of every roam. He's the king of crowd control. Your level 8 Quibble stun, you're forced to cord, literally shift the entire team wherever you want. Polite Company can still move. I wouldn't call that crowd control, but amazing hero.
Right, and I think we're going to see Finn come back into the meta with the buff to his Polite Company on the fortified health. So I have been seeing a lot of priority towards Finn, both in like the VIS matches that we've seen thus far, and even in some of the NACL matches. He does have his weaknesses though, so you have to draft the right comp along with them. I believe last time I saw Hazard play, they were drafting comps that were too fast for Finn, and they were struggling. Like this Glaive is going to kind of struggle or make the Finn struggle because Glaive just can't keep up with Finn can't keep up with the Glaive. But we do see the comp of Glaive, Gwen, and Finn for the side of Rice, and Lyra, Ringo, and Alpha coming out for the side of Hazard. Alpha not a common pick, but did just get a weapon buff, although it looks like she's going to be playing Crystal here.
I have a few accounts. They range from tier 7 to Vainglorious. I see a lot of Crystal Ringo and higher tier gameplay. I don't know what it is, but they pull it off. And I don't know if it's coming back into the meta or if it's just these exquisite players performing a Crystal Ringo. But we also see a Crystal Gwen. That is going to be interesting. Everything's going to revolve around her buckshot. I don't know how they're going to pull it off against a Ringo Alpha, but time will tell.
Yeah, well, I think that the Crystal Gwen can function great with the Finn, because Gwen is going to want to hang back and, like you said, continue to use that buckshot. I expect to see like a Shattered Glass, Clockwork first items for Prospe here on the Gwen, rather than your typical weapon Gwen who will poke for a little bit, but as soon as the fight goes, she has to dive in so she can stay within range. And that coupled with a Glaive would make it difficult for Finn. But with a Crystal Gwen, I think they will be able to better keep their team in the same place and allow Finn to provide that fortified health protection and provide that CC with the Quibble stuns and things of that nature. So I'm okay with the Crystal Gwen pick in this particular comp. and we'll have to see how it's played. But if it's played properly and she just stays on the outskirts of the team fights, it should be okay.
So we have Rice going with a very high tier meta. Um, Lane and jungle do the first few jungle minions. They both get level 2, then they immediately gank. That's a beautiful play. Ringo definitely overextended. It didn't look like an overextend, but to not know where the enemy jungle is, you didn't see the laner, you had to expect something fishy.
Well, I think it was an overextend there. I mean, when he was almost in turret range, he was past that top brush on Rice's side of the map. And when you don't have your captain anywhere near the lane to back you up, with a Ringo who has zero escape, his best escape is activating Twirling Silver and hoping he runs fast enough. I think that was a serious overextension, especially knowing you have a glaive somewhere in the jungle.
Correct.
You just can't make that mistake.
Sweaty minion candy coming from Crosby. I don't see many of those coming from the laner. I might see one or two every other game from the captain, but he really wants to push this lane. He really wants to punish neglect. Glaive going to try peek over, steal a few minions, what he can. Wolfgang going to miss his quibble, go ahead and run away. Troll a little bit, why not?
And we do see Luxian putting on the pressure on Wolfgang and Android and getting Android here very low. The Alpha should provide a good, solid front line for this Ringo. Going to be very difficult for these teams to take down. Um, very tanky, especially if built properly. We'll see how much priority Lux puts on the defense. Hopefully, he will put a high priority after completing his first item there. But it should prevent Android from being able to burst him down too fast. Plus, obviously, Alpha has the reboot, which keeps her alive.
So Prosper already has 2 tier 2 items leading to that Shatterglass. Once that Shatterglass comes through, a big burst from the Bugshot will definitely hit Neglect right in the mouth. Um, does he build? He actually bought armor rather than shield, expecting a weapon Gwen.
Neglect, yes, did do that, or maybe he's trying to counter the early ganks from the glaive. But yeah, I would have rather seen either a shield or an oak heart to be building towards that reflex block to protect him from the ganks and the eventual aces high from Prosby.
So Luxian feeling a little nosy, gonna wander into Rice's jungle, steal the fronts. 44 gold, not too bad. Still, anything more than the enemy is a plus. I'm gonna go ahead and shop. 4 minute and 2 second fountain coming out of Abscond. Very impressive.
Yeah, and Wolfgang is still about 300 gold off of the fountain. Prosby has enough to buy the Shatterglass now, and looks to be porting back to do that as we speak, which is going to put some serious hurt on Neglect, who has yet to complete a tier 3 item.
So Hazard not only has the fountain advantage, they have the healing captain advantage. That's insane. Uh, how Alpha sticks on Android will decide this game. How who invades more jungle. Fountain does come out from Wolfgang. Teams are even in terms of gold. 250 difference, not much. Android going to go ahead and survive by popping the flask, while Prosby's deciding if he wants to keep on farming or rotate down.
Yeah, and we saw. I mean, it was great timing by the side of Rice. Uh, didn't give Hazard any type of opening to take advantage of that fountain advantage that they did have. The afterburn coming out onto Abscond from Android. But yeah,
Wolfgang did happen to pop his fountain there for whatever reason. They have no fountain now, and Abscon's still a little low, but still has the sigil. Gonna go ahead and pop it on himself, get a little speed boost, while Android's just chilling there. Big burst come out of Prosby with that Shatter Glass.
and it looked like maybe Wolfgang either panicked when Android made that afterburn, or it was a mistake. I'm gonna guess it was more of a panic because he was so far away, and that's kind of what makes the difference between your great captains and your good captains. the timing on the fountain and not wasting it, because now they're 30 seconds away from having the fountain up in a team fight, while Hazard still has the fountain and the sigil, and we see Android go down.
Beautiful bright ball works so that he could not afterburn out, gave him no chance of escape, and Luxian still so sticky on that alpha. Neglect going to go ahead and push the lane a little bit. Not going to go very far. Prosby is right there to counter it.
Yeah, and we do see that the lane is very even in terms of farm, but jungle is just snowballing in favor of Luxian, who is up more than 20 CS already on Android. Android having spent most of his attention trying to gank Neglect.
So we see Wolfgang only level 4 compared to enemy roam Abscon level 6. He does have the portal. At this point in time, there's not too many fights to determine who is in the lead. Still 2-1 in favor of Rice, but I believe this game is going to Hazard.
Yeah, Hazard does have a slight gold advantage, only 500, but it is an advantage even though they're behind a kill. To me, it does feel like right now it's going in the direction of Hazard, but Rice is making a good push here. This could still easily go anybody's way. Turret about to take some damage here from Android. But Hazard is
Wolfgang taking a lot of damage. Prosby going to go low. Luxian still very sticky. Does not have his A up for 2 seconds. Fountain is actually out for Rice. Still up for Hazard. Luxian going to go down most likely, but does pop his termination protocol and will not get a kill, but does take down Wolfgang very low. Neglect going to go ahead and finish up the job. Beautiful reflex block from Neglect, but does end up dying. Android going to go ahead and chase down Abscon. Will not get the kill. Abscon just go ahead and taunts his way out.
Yeah, and we saw a huge mistake there from Lux, who did pop his termination protocol and then chose to prime directive into turret range. So you might survive the damage coming out of the enemy team while you're rebooting, but you're not going to survive the turret damage. And I think that was a big mistake that turned that fight in the favor of Rice, even though it looked like it was going to the side of Hazard to begin that with. It looks like Neglect right now is going for a tornado trigger second item with a Finn and a glaive on the board. I would much rather see a breaking point here, because those two heroes are going to take a significant amount of damage before you kill them. And that's just, I mean, Finn is notorious for being just that hero that you build your stacks on.
Easily. Especially with the Catherine. I love Catherine since 2 updates ago when they did the stack buff. 1 stack equals 2 armor shield. And she's just been insane.
Yeah,
Luxian going to go ahead and go for that Broken Myth. Once he does unlock Broken Myth and hits that 15-minute mark, I don't think they'll be stopping. Neglect does not block the Forced Accord. Afterburn punts him away. He's going to get healed up a little bit. Luxian does go down. Reboots back up. Droid's still full health and just tunnel visioning on anyone closest to him.
and you see a little bit of poor target focus from the side of Rice. Luxian went in, did go down, had the reboot up, but there were still trades going on between Prosby and Neglect, rather than everybody focusing on getting that alpha down. When alpha goes down on the enemy team side, you have to focus that, especially when the rest of the team is in the back. And they just didn't take advantage of that, which allowed Luxian to get out without taking a death and without giving up any bounty gold or anything to the favor of Rice.
So the gold miner still stacking that 400 gold. Vision going out for Team Rice in their favor. Wolfgang going to go ahead and pop up mine. Luxian has no clue what to do. Farm completely gone. Does have the Broken Myth. Now he just has to build tanky, get that late game, and peel for Neglect, help him out any way possible. And I still have my hopes up for Team Hazard.
Yeah, although Hazard is behind by a turret now, and they are back 1,000 gold. It's still close enough to be anybody's game. I do kind of fear for this Ringo, though. There's very low defense and not a lot of peel. Lux can throw himself in the middle of the team fight and hope that people focus on him. However, they don't have to, and Neglect can be a very easy target for Rice.
So Force the Cord is now up. Abscon does have the Crucible and Reflex block for Neglect. Hopefully, I'm trusting that this room can. Is it bad to be a biased caster? Should I? I really want Hazard to win.
I'm not sure what the caster rules are.
Force Core does come out. Hits no one really. Going to go ahead and protocol this. Prosby getting taken down really low. Does get punted back, Luxion. Android sticking back, waiting to help Prosby in any way possible. Hellfire Brew lands on Prosby, but it is a weapon Ringo, will not do anything. Luxion does go down. Android's doing too much damage. That Solar Blade, like I said. Neglect does block the punt, but ends up dying regardless.
Yeah,
Beautiful
and
reflex blocks is.
Rice able to take that fight despite that horrible forced accord that, as you said, didn't really hit anybody. It did hit Luxion, but Luxion it moved him exactly 0 meters because
He
he
was
was
already
already right
face
in
to
front
face
of
with. Yeah.
right in front of the fin. So, but that didn't matter. Rice was still able to take that team fight. And sometimes forced accord can actually work against you, especially when you have somebody like Alpha whose only job is to close the gap.
Very
So
true.
if
Yeah.
if you're not careful about when you pull, if there's not communication with your team, which it didn't look to be any there because there wasn't really any follow up, all you're doing is helping the enemy team get closer. Especially if you were to hook Neglect, who was nowhere near the hook pull when he attempted it, but with the damage that would come out of a Ringo being able to get onto the Gwen in the back because of a hook pull, that could spell trouble if Rice does not coordinate their hook pulls better.
Little fight going to come out. Wolfgang does have his force to cord back up. Lexion going to go ahead and front line, get onto Droid. Still have his reboot up. Going to go ahead and get stunned out by Proxby. Cannot use his reboot until. Oh, I believe Android just going to go ahead and go in. Afterburn does connect, kills him immediately. All I'm saying is Android did not build Spell Sword, and look at the damage he's doing. Proxby going to go ahead and buckshot, slow apps going down, but does not get the kill. That will be the tier 2 turret going down for Team Hazard.
I will counter your spell sword by saying, had Neglect built a breaking point instead of a tornado trigger, the amount of shots that he got off onto Android during that team fight, he would have had huge stacks and Android would have gone down. But because he built the tornado trigger, there was no increase in damage. It was just the same damage output the entire time. Glaive is far too tanky, especially already with tier 3 armor, with the fortified health coming out of Wolfgang. There was just, I mean, he was essentially shooting marshmallows at him, but he hit him a significant number of times, and a breaking point probably would have turned the tides in that fight.
Yeah, the downside to this very bursty team for Hazard is they have no crowd control, no stuns, no ways to displace, except maybe that arcane passage, but that really does nothing. Quibble going to miss, does not stun anybody. Neglect cannot block this beautiful timed afterburn from Android. Going to go ahead and get Atlas. Not doing much. Force Quarter comes down, keeps Luxion right in his face, stuns him out while he's protocoled. Lara's just going to run for her life. No clue what she's doing. That'll be a free Kraken for Rice. This game is not looking good.
This game is not looking good for the team that you are being biased for.
Correct.
And I think you're just seeing the downside to some of these builds coming out.
I think I'm seeing the downside to not building Spell Sword on Glaive. Ooh, Neglect does put up a good fight, but unfortunately the Buckshot Shatterglass combo will steal the Kraken. Well, it can't really be stolen if you've had the lead anyways.
Correct. Yeah, I'm still gonna disagree with you on the spell sword because I think the spell sword and the tension bow do an equal amount of burst damage to just a sorrow blade. He does have a breaking, or I'm sorry, a bone saw, but there is tier one armor on the side of Hazard.
Hey, to
You
each
don't
their
need a
own.
bone saw that. Yeah, this is true, to each their own. So I also find it. I mean, I guess the whole team has reflex blocks now, but I think a crucible could have helped Wolfgang with some of those Hellfire brews. Although it is a weapon Ringo, it can still do a decent amount of damage.
Not only the burst, but the tick damage, such as when you're really low health, it can still tick away and kill you. Neglect going to
Right.
go ahead and block the Atlas and the Quibble. Luxion going to go ahead and pop the Protocol and does latch on to Prosby and gets the kill. Ringo gets punted out of the way. Android going to get taken down really low by Luxion, still sticking on to him like white on rice. Wolfgang going to be the only survivor, but does get taken down, misses the prime directive, and that'll be it for Rice. The first ace, I believe, coming out for Team Hazard. Uh, Although they only have one turret left, I'm still hopeful they can make a comeback.
They are going to save that one turret. However, again, I will go back to that either that last turret takes a lot less damage. Maybe they even save that the second turret, or the turret that they did lose, the crystal turret they did lose, because Neglect is just not doing enough damage, and he's just shooting these his opponents forever and not building any stacks. He has no stacks to build.
Correct.
On this tornado trigger. I'm just not a fan of this tornado trigger because of, if it was a squishy team, fine, I could see the tornado trigger. You just burst them down quick. But with a glaive who has, I believe, over 2,000 hit points without uh, any kind of item buff or armor added on to that, just his natural HP at level 12 is over 2,000. Glaive is just a very bulky, tanky character. You really need that breaking point to cut through that.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of crit Ringo. I'd rather have, like you said, the breaking point. I'd like to stack up during team fights, stick to the back. Base damage, Sorrow Blade, Tyrant's Monocle. Anything that just stacks up in immense damage. And once you get, let's say, 4 or 5 seconds into a team fight, that's when you start melting people like Finn, late game Glaive, anyone.
Yeah, or while you are, if, as we've seen Neglect do many times, he'll take a lot of damage from Android. He'll get punted with the afterburn and manage to find himself back onto the back line to avoid the damage. And he keeps uh, doing damage to Wolfgang on this Finn while his team deals with the Gwen and the Glaive. But because he doesn't have the breaking points, those shots on Finn aren't really doing him a whole lot of good.
Luxion will steal out that healing tree. Android's not infused, but Neglect's still getting chased down by him. Will go down to Android. Reflex blocks does not help him at all. Luxion gonna go ahead and just you can't give up at this point. You gotta fight head on. There's no reason to run. If you fight and lose, that's game. If you run away, then they push in, that's game. You got to do something.
Yeah, they do manage to make it back to the base, heal up a little bit, and come out to stand their ground, but I just don't think they have enough damage on this tanky lineup from the side of Rice to stop this crystal from going down.
Yeah, Android's damage is just shredding through the vein crystal like nothing. Prosby's Shatterglass, Buckshot will do the trick for this game. Very glad to actually have seen a Crystal Gwen. There were a lot of things that Hazard could have done preemptively, such as Ringo's build, Luxion building more tanky. Didn't only had 2 damage items, while Android and Prosby just dominated the fold. 6-2, 4-1, left no room for error. They were very, very on target of what they had to do. Got objectives, got aces, got everything was just beautiful, very charismatic and flawless for Team Rice.
Yeah, and Hazard just didn't they didn't really do a good enough job of getting onto the Gwen. I would have loved to have seen some Portal Bulwark combos come out to get that Ringo onto the back line to keep the glaive away from being able to afterburn Ringo off of that Gwen. She was able to just sit back there and buckshot to her heart's content.
Do you know what really won that game?
No
Spell
spell
sword. Oh, that's great.
So we do have game 2 getting ready to start. Unfortunately, I am going to have to step away from the casting for now. So it's been a blast casting with you. Hopefully we will get to do more in the future.
For sure.
So, and I don't know if they have somebody getting ready to take my spot or not. Hopefully you don't have to cast by yourself, but if you do, good luck.
Thank you, my man. Take it easy.
No problem. Have a good one.
You too. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and all apologies for the awkward silence. Had a caster step out for a minute, possibly for the rest of the games. I'm B Wilkes, another streamer, NACL exclusive, the best, obviously. Hopefully, I have my money on Hazard. They can pull something out for a win, get this game 3 going on. Great stance between both teams on the last series. Hopefully draft comes through soon. See what we have planned. And here we have Scrubbing Deck with me, going to help casting, I suppose.
Hello.
Hello.
Am I joining the game or how? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Fine. Oh. So, B Wilkes, how do you want me to call you?
That's fine. Brent, B. Wilkes, Vodka, whatever.
Alright.
Okay, I believe all players and casters are in the game. Waiting for the ready up for both captains of the team.
Ready to go.
So we're gonna go ahead and start draft. Expecting the simple Catherine Grace brands.
Have you seen these teams play?
Yes, they just did a series.
uh, what do you think? Like, how do you think they're gonna compete after after the game they just played?
So Rice definitely dominated Hazard this last game. I mean, it was the entire game was simply balanced on Rice's side. Hazard never got it. Well, they only had one ace compared to Rice's 3 or 4. I believe they have better communication, better skill base. They are just absolutely dominant.
Is there a huge elo disparity between these two teams?
Not really. It's just I believe Rice has been playing with each other more compared to Team Hazard.
Um, yeah, the new form teams is always a huge issue.
Looks like Lyra Idris going to be soft locked. Very powerful team composition in 2.8. That's going to go ahead and go through.
So it was weird to see a Finn band was instead of seeing a Grace band team. I guess they had the advantage of picking her first, and we're gonna leave the pick and ban.
It looks like a troll thumbs up from Abscond. Going to result in a hiccup in the draft. Do not think they meant to lock in Petal. And we'll see how the rules follow.
Maybe it wasn't what they wanted. Seems like we're gonna do the draft phase once more. Probably gonna be the same picks. Well, it should be the same picks rather.
Should be Finn, Catherine, Grace, Lyra, Idris, Baptiste.
Yeah.
It'd be a shame if they actually locked in with some speed. There we go.
Would have to remake it once more.
Right.
I think we'll be fine. So going based off what picks we already saw, how do you think they're gonna play it? Because I mean, I haven't seen these teams play. You have. Is there a certain strategy that either one of these teams really uses?
This is actually interesting because Team Rice, they use a very CC based team last game. So they had they had 3 stuns, a forced accord, and a repositioning polite company.
Yeah.
They're going to go ahead and go with the pedal again. I think they have no choice since they did actually soft lock it. They do have a stun coming out from Jewel and Wolfgang, but Wolfgang is the roamer.
So we're gonna see Baptista lane most likely.
I'm actually thinking they're going to go weapon pedal lane just because they're that kind of team. You think I'm kidding, but it's happening.
I'm really excited to see it in this case. So there seems like there's a good amount of burst on the side of Rice. I mean, even though that they chose Grace, it might not be enough to save the allies. In my opinion, that is.
They're actually going to go weapon Batiste. That's very interesting. I've seen it happen. Unfortunately, I've actually lost to it in online ranked. Please don't laugh. Depending on if he knows how to build it, if he knows how to play it, anything can happen in VG.
Yeah, true. It's such a team fighting based game that it happens so quickly and so many actions happen so quickly that it's so hard to define it.
So Wolfgang going to go ahead and go in the jungle. Pop that scout trap. Only 50 gold. Team Brian's going with the meta lane and jungle. Go ahead and grab level 2 real quick, and then hopefully gank neglect. Just farming up right now. Abscon and Luxion in the jungle doing their own thing for now. The mid treant in the jungle, the elder treant, excuse me, going to be taken away. It's going to be started by Abscon. They're gonna leave it. They say it's not worth it right now.
Oh, they're actually
Crosby.
gonna give it up. That's gonna be a big factor here.
Yeah, it's gonna be 127 gold plus the heal and leveling to Crosby. Android gonna go ahead and just mess around in lane. Go ahead and port back the control.
Yeah, Lyra has so much pressure, simply because of how much healing and sustain she provides to the lane compared to Grace in before level 6, that is.
Correct. Grace gonna go ahead and use her benediction just to prevent the possible port home. Android gonna go home. Can't do anything in lane right now. Might as well just buy and come back later. Clear the wave. Get some money.
So how does Batista with the red build play? Like how? I mean, you were
He plays. You're going to start with a Serpent Mask, and the objective of Weapon Batiste is get as many souls as you can, get that lifesteal, get that. You just want that bad mojo to do the biggest damage for no reason and heal yourself back up as fast as possible. So he won't have the bursty crystal path, but he
Lyra's gonna
will.
get stunned, gonna get knocked up, gonna get pushed in, easily kill for the first blood.
Beautiful Holy Nova stunning up Wolfgang. Will give Team Hazard. Wow, they're actually pulling off this Weapon Batiste. Android going to go ahead and farm, put some damage on this turret. Turret shield goes down, so he'll just knock it with the chakram a few times. Get out of range on the turret's die.
It's a little weird to see all of Hazard decide to recall when they were pretty healthy there.
I see in chat, wouldn't double CP be better? In terms of damage, yes. In terms of laning, you typically don't want to do CP Batiste.
Gonna get a good engage onto Rice. Lyra's gonna be the one to fall behind. They're still not gonna decide to focus on her. Crosby's still trying to escape. Droid's gonna try to join into the fight, but it's not gonna be enough as Hazard decides to back off.
Wolfgang barely coming alive. He will be able to heal himself with the sigil, but Crosby, the only reason he lived was because of that flask.
Dimitriev's getting picked up a lot this game. I never see it get picked up.
Yeah, and I'm actually very happy. I love seeing objectives that aren't common in most public matches, such as Crystal Sentries, Elder Tree Ants, Gold Mines.
And then we see Rice go down to take a good purchase. Maybe they were looking for the tree. Maybe they were aware of the buy.
Rice is actually a very well communicated team. I believe they noticed that it was 4 minutes. They say, "Hey, the Elder Trance despawning. Jungle Shop's up now. Let's go ahead and buy. We're ahead in lane. Let's just tackle them. Stay on top." Android gonna.
In the mood and like you really are aware of the timer, and sometimes I'm just walking down to look for the tree.
Yeah. Neglect gonna start with a tension bow on Batiste, not the. Wow, not the server mask.
Maybe for the quick burst on the if he gets a stun.
Hazard going to pop up from behind. Ordain goes down on. Beautiful Ordain on Android. Neglect going to go ahead and just farm up with that tension bow. Misses a few minions because of the proc, but still. Farm looking in favor for Neglect. Only gets one stun.
Gonna be able to avoid it. Good looking, might be able to. He does survive it. Crosby just going in, trying to put some poke, but not really trading appropriately.
What is happening? This Weapon Batiste is actually performing. Like he's actually showing up. I love it.
No one expected it.
Lexion gonna go ahead and buy, put some pressure on Crosby. Wolfgang coming in, go ahead and use a Bright Bulwark for whatever reason. Crosby will regret.
Crosby was in really low. Does get a small heal from the Lyra. Lexison does get a bigger heal. A second has a really good disengage, and Rice is not going to get anything out of that.
So both fountains popped on both teams. Unfortunately, Crosby uses ult. I never, ever, ever use my ultimate on a weapon jewel. I believe it's so pointless unless the enemy is like literally 2 health. It is the most sickening thing.
Holy moly, the amount of damage Wolfgang falls really low there.
Neglect putting tons of damage on Wolfgang. He can't do anything. His Imperial Sigil is still down for another 5 seconds ish.
You know,
Android just
he build is insane amount of damage, but I'm looking at this red build and think it's incredible.
probably going to get stunned by the
Oh.
Ordain. Luxion is going to come in, clean him up. Avscon, beautiful grace. The Holy Nova just captivated. And
Yeah, that was a really good catch right there. Wolfgang tried to help out, but he was really far.
you get to a point when you roam where you can't help your team, and it's sad.
Yeah, you're trying to help out. You're being a good captain, but your team's a little overextended. A little poor communication. Rice does look like the better communicated team, but if they do small mistakes like that, they can fall behind.
Vision in favor of Team Hazard. They have mines in their jungle bush and one outside of Rice's. Nothing else more than that. Little skirmish going to go on in the lane. Evskun stuns out Idris with the Holy Nova. Going to get taken low.
Second falls really low, but the fear is able to disengage. Second nearly falling to cross speed, but it's not going to be enough.
Beautiful fearsome shade, by the way. Evskun did live by the hair of their life.
Oh, it was right into the sun.
Team Hazard still has their fountain up, while Team Rice still lacking. Wolfgang has a sigil up right now. Probably going to heal herself like that. Neglect just going to go ahead and back off. Say, hey, the lane's already even. Let's just wait for it to chunk up a bit.
So we have to consider, though, the goal differential is pretty apparent at this point, and there's a 20 goal differential, 20 CS differential between the laners. And how do you think that's going to affect, like, as we get later into the game, as we get into mid game?
Later into the game, especially mid game, this is where Petal starts to shine. She has a Frostburn now, but once she gets that broken mid, she starts stacking up. Her minions are going to do insane damage, while Neglect, already like not even full build, no defense, still just eating away at Team Rice.
Damn, first time he actually does get a 3 hits on the tower, and it does so much.
That Chakram does half of Neglect's damage. Like I said, he has no defense for him, not respecting him in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it's really cocky when you don't build any defense. You're just stating that you're very comfortable in your situation and you're very cocky.
Yes.
Both teams are looking for the same play.
Team Rice spotted out with a clutch flare. You have to have vision. Vision wins games, and that's simply put. You cannot win a game if you have no vision, whether it's against a Taka, Kestrel, a Jewel, especially a Cruel.
He's going to be the first one to engage on. Laish kind of try to help out, gets the stun though. Here you see Prosper does go all in. He is going to get a pedal. Neglect is still trying to do some damage, gets the heal, but it's not going to be enough. Absec is going to be the last target, and he's going to be able to get away.
Beautiful engage, disengage, and re-engage from Team Rice. I can't say anything bad about that, actually. I'm sad that Neglect couldn't do anything on the Weapon Batiste.
That brings them back so much into the game. They were down by 3,000 gold, and they just came back.
And they're actually going to be up more because we have about 1,500 going their way. They are now up in gold lead.
Damn. It's going to be a big change here.
So that gives Prosby his Tyrant's monocle. Sarv Blade Tyrant on a Jewel is devastating. You cannot you can't ignore her damage. They have no armor for her, and she's going to shred through them like butter.
If you're Hazard right now, what are you thinking? You just lost your lead. You are playing Batista without CP. How do you want to play it from here?
What you do now is you slow down. You try to eliminate team fights. You butter up the gold. Just let it collect every time. Get Petal to her late game. Do whatever you can.
Seconds looking for something. Lyra is able to unengage. Second still finds Droid, but Droid is able to disengage really easily. Puffy is the one that falls really low, but this is going to try to get a stun. Onto second, Wolfgang is going to run away. So
they all just tunnel visioned Android. They said, hey, this Crystal Idris is nothing to play around with. We have to get him out and quick. They did just that. They're going to push lane a little bit now. Very good engage. I love the slow pacedness. They didn't they didn't get flustered. They didn't say, "Hey, Joel's here too. So is Lyra." Probably gonna go ahead and ult the minion wave. Interesting.
We're gonna see how that pays off though, because they did get the tower and they only got 1 kill for it. Wolfgang's gonna get a sneaky buy in here. Walk away.
Ad's gonna go ahead and pick up the Crucible. I believe the only thing that she has to block is the Jules Rocket Leap. I believe that's the thing. Once you block that stun.
Right in between. Lyra is going to try to assist here. No, just hasn't put in the heal. Absec is going to be the first one to fall really low. Bounce is going to be a proc. Android falls below 100 health. Absec still holds on to his ultimate.
Beautiful trampoline from Petal. Luxian just sitting in that corridor, just waiting for Android to be low. Unfortunately, did not get the kill, but Neglect going to go ahead and take a lot of damage. Ordain comes out. Fearsome Shade is up.
Negating the engage from Absec, and Prosty still tries to engage. Luxian's gonna
beautiful Fearsome Shade.
He is able to. Absec is gonna try to re-engage, but Petal still falls. Absec is gonna be the next target, and Neglect tries to go in. Android just takes down Neglect because of his cockiness.
Very smart play from Android. Could have easily rolled out and got stunned, but he decided to stay in, take the little bit of damage he could from the Ordain, but took it like a man and ended up getting the kill. The lane in favor of Team Rice. They are just killing this game.
Almost like it could have gone from either way. Like
that could have easily went either way.
Yeah, that was a pretty intense fight.
Luxian still has no armor for Prosby. Prosby's just eating through those minions. Her Thunderstrike is just making light work of them. They're just all focused on the damage of Android, and they're only targeting Android. Whether it's successful in killing him or not, they're tunnel visioning, and that's their problem.
You know, considering how many fights we've actually gotten, the kills are actually really low. We have yet to hit 10 kills.
Correct.
Ooh, we see Rice walking forward, trying to put some pressure here.
Android going to go ahead and push the lane. Goldmine still hasn't been taken yet. I'd love to, and they're going to start right there. Good call.
Yeah, it was a really good push, and then just rotating for it. But we are going to see them fly for it. Neglect is falling really far behind, though. I don't recommend it. Yeah,
Rice will go ahead and take it away for the second time. That is 2,400 gold just from the bonus, and then you have the 100 plus just for killing the miner.
Rice is looking for something, but not finding anything. They just want to negate Absec to engage, and that's pretty much all you need to win the fight against them.
Android. Prosby going to go ahead and steal the tree ant. Very well timed Thunderstrike. Go ahead and push this lane some, get it to that turret, put some damage on it, lower the shield at least. Neglect going to go ahead and Ordain on Wolfgang. Does not get stunned.
Absec is going to be in the middle of the fight. He's going to fall really low. They're focusing the Crystal Sentry and the enemy team. It's a 4v3 right here. Wolfgang just stays in the middle of a piece of stun. Prosby's still going to go for the engage. Luxian's going to get popped back. Ooh, Absec does get the heal. Luxian's going to be the focus. So both of them are getting focused. Idris gets the ace.
That words cannot describe what is going on. Android was just constantly being hit by the Crystal Sentry, didn't even care. Ace Minion is going to push into the Crystal Vein.
That's going to be good right there.
That will be game. Neglect going to try to get up and do something. The damage output from Prosby is unreal. Beautiful game 2 from Team Rice.
I'd have to say that it was very based on the team shots. Having Baptista and Petal on the same team didn't work out.
Beautiful games from both teams, Hazard and Rice. Thank you all for watching, ladies and gentlemen. I'm B. Wilkes, and my co-caster is
Scrubbing Deck, also known as Feeder on the Discord.
Thank you all for being here, and y'all have a great night.